The BumbleKast is for entertainment purposes only. The host's comments and opinions, and those of their guests, are wholly their own and do not represent that of any other entity. Content is provided as is, with no guarantees of accuracy or timeliness.
It's a BumbleKast Mini, sponsored by Lorenzo H.
This one's all about Ageheim. So it's a Drogune Mini.
Ooh. Oh, darn.
For the Age, what would you consider their core traits and values, very broadly speaking?
Very broadly speaking, family, I think, would be the central theme to them in a usually wholesome, uplifting way. Again, we're speaking broadly here. There will always be caveats. There will always be problems. But generally speaking, it's about core traits and values for the Age are about their family and their legacy and their community, I'd say.
In a number of cultural stories, world trees are a recurring myth theme. Think myth meme, if you're not familiar with the term. Given the number of trees in Ageheim, did they have one of particular importance?
Not in your typical world tree myth theme, which is a new word for me. Thank you. Typically in these kinds of scenarios, you think of like the Yggdrasil or the one central dominant tree, and that's not Ageheim. The most important tree to any individual Age is their family tree. The tree that they were born in, the tree that their family has lived in for generations. That's their tree. When thinking of Ageheim and the trees, think of a very dense metropolitan hub of condos and high-rises and office buildings, and replace the buildings with trees, and then make it even more claustrophobic. It's trees, 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 trees everywhere.
So many trees.
Many trees.
And when you say family trees, you mean literal trees, not like...
Literal family trees. There is the pun intended in there because I'm shameless, but
yes,
it is quite literally, you hear stories of folks and the house they grew up in, their family house, the house that their grandfather or great-great-grandfather built with their own two hands, and here's the foundation that dates back to 1265 or whatever. That level of family tree.
That's a very old house if it's from 1265.
I'm not good with numbers. This is imaginary anyway. Family tree. Tree that the family lives in. There we go.
Okay. The understory was one of the first locations we were introduced to in First Past, like the canopy. Aside from the Chironids, the giant, bat-like fauna, what lurks in that area? Do Age have folktales related to it?
The fun thing about the forest is that there's all sorts of awful things down in the deep dark. Like, if you actually research stuff that lives in the forest floor, understudy, leaf litter, the kinds of creepy crawlies that you don't even think about when you jump in a leaf pile, but once you know about them, it ruins leaf piles forever.
Ouch.
It's that, but more. Because as I mentioned earlier, the trees are extremely densely packed, and they're gigantic. That is a ton of biomatter that is constantly falling to the forest floor without a ton of sunlight to get to it. So the forest floor, the understory and all that, it's a very cold, dark, damp place full of things that thrive on the death that congeals there. There are things that go bump in the night, and goodness, it would be fun to explore that and be horrified by it. So yeah, there's absolutely folk tales about it. Some of them that are steeped in myth, some of which are actual cautionary tales. Like, I remember my grandpa went down there once, he never came back. And some of it's just absolute tall tales, but that's the fun about it. It could be anything.
Mm-hmm. Wands are objects of magic sometimes tied to nature as much as the supernatural, and made of wood. We see wands in Drogune, but are trees in Ageheim tied to anything of note in their composition when it comes to channeling magic charges?
Not especially, no.
They're just trees.
I mean, there's certainly legend of folklore of the magic tree that did the magic thing and whatnot, but generally speaking, the trees of Ageheim are just fanciful giant trees. The wands in particular within Drogune are constructs that come with a particular magical charge to them. with most weaponry and tools within Drogune, you need some kind of defining elemental trait to them so that they can perform a function. And some of that can be swapped out with the caveat that you need a charge to execute it. You need to have the ammo or the battery or the defining rune to make that spell happen. Wands, it's a package deal. You get the wand, it's going to do the thing. You don't have to worry about the charge. You don't have to worry about the rune. You don't have to worry about anything. It's a wand, it's going to do the thing. Once it runs out of its battery, then it's a stick. But, it's a sturdy stick, and you can maybe recycle it, maybe get a new wand. But the wands are the simplified magical tools of Drogune.
Foreign called Chironids vermin. How do they bother the Age's way of life, and in what ways are they dealt with?
That's partly Foreign just being insulting.
Rude.
Well, it tried to eat them. And a Chironid of that particular size is unusually large, but they are, predatory creatures that like to hide in dark crevasses. And in a realm that is dominated by giant trees with all sorts of nooks and crannies, you never know when you're going to step and it's going to bite you.
Trends of Bow's Bend was noted to have an officer role, or squire, amongst non-Age and Galaxant, albeit beneath Ser Verdis. Though Galaxant clearly favors Hume folk, how have Age generally fared under Galaxant's regime? Is there an official limit to how high they are allowed to rise?
Officially, no. Galaxant is the government of all people, and all are equal under the law. And Ser Verdis, who is under review and revision as we speak as things move along, he's kind of a special case amongst the Knights of Galaxant. Trends having any kind of station under him is a whole other thing that we'll get to. We're talking long term here. But generally speaking, Age do not climb very high or any of the non-human species climb very high within Galaxant. You will see Age within the Star Marshals that are stationed in Ageheim. You will see Age within the Star Rangers kind of abroad, but they're not going to get much higher than maybe a 3-star rank out of 5. So Trends being a squire is very unusual. In terms of geopolitical relations, Ageheim's on generally better terms, but that's partly because their society and government were brought to heel very early on in the formation of Galaxant, and it really hasn't had the time since the last round of pressure to start to push back again. There is a caveat to that, which we will be getting to further down in this mini, but right now they're fairly stable. The biggest issue right now is with Enchantiheim, but that's more like book 3 stuff we'll get into.
We heard of Age areas like Bow's Bend and Whiteleaf. While all may be different branches in the same forest, are any areas of particular note to Age as a people, or to Ageheim as Ruby Point seems to be for Drofheim?
Don't put too much stock into Ruby Point just because it was one of the first locations that we named and did. Ruby Point is certainly a major enough city within Drofheim, but it's not like a major capital. For Ageheim overall, the biggest... Okay. Let's back up a little bit. The structure overall is you have your individual family trees and the surrounding trees around them. Not all trees are inhabited. Some of them are just, a tree. Shocking, I know.
Weird.
And those trees are governed by the local, or gathered together within a forest that is governed by either the local queen, prince, princess, maybe even a lesser king. And then those forests are ruled by the ever larger forests, greater conglomerate forests that are ruled by a king. And in total, Ageheim has 5 major kingdoms with lesser kingdoms throughout, and then queendoms within there, and so on and so forth when we get more granular. So there are 5 major kingdoms that more or less control most of the power within the king's court. And you can consider those 5 forests to be like the major metropolitan areas, your major cities, your New Yorks, your Chicagos, your Torontos, that kind of thing.
Okay. From the fact that areas like Whiteleaf were cut for fuel/mana, one can assume that trees in Ajeheim have magical properties. How did they culturally make use of this fact or use magic on their world before colonization ramped up?
Not really, actually. Trees being that large, an organism of that size is going to have appreciable mana reserve just by virtue of its size. But the trees are not particularly magical. They are not something that you could readily tap. If anything, it's Galaxant being lazy with fuel acquisition. It's, burn wood, get energy. Tree made of lots of wood. Big trees made of lots of wood. They have a realm full of trees. Cut down tree, get wood, get fire. And you have the king's court that is very much in the pocket of Galaxant, who really doesn't care to sacrifice one of their smaller forests just to grease the wheels and get things going. And that is where the current dissent is arising from, is that the Ajay's own people are felling the most significant part of their culture and realm just to appease the overlord's insatiable need for power. Like, oh no, one of the cities in Humaheim had a brownout. Better erase this entire forest worth of culture. It's not going over well with the local Ajay.
Huh, can't imagine why. Are there any folk heroes or legendary figures of Ajay history? What made them so great? Perhaps their family trees?
You're killing me, Lorenzo. Because the answer is yes, but there are so many stories I want to tell already. And that's what's got me so hyped about Drogune, is that it has this opportunity for storytelling. We're just talking Ajeheim. This question could be applied to all the realms, and the answer is yes.
Yeah.
This is a bottomless well of potential, and it drives me crazy that I have human limits to what I can do. So, yes, I want the answer is yes. I would love to explore it. Maybe I can get to it. Maybe I can bring other people in time to do it. It's one thing at a time. We just got book 1 out. The compendium is coming along, and with that groundwork, maybe we can have folks start going nuts with it. I don't know. We'll see.
We hear about different kingdoms, queendoms, and how they're smaller branches of the dominant crown. Ignoring Galaxant, how much autonomy does each realm have? What happens if their area is deforested?
So, quick clarifications. Dominant Crown is one of the 5 major forests. It is not the singular ruling entity.
Ah, okay.
They've got quite the haughty name there, but, when you rule 5th of the realm, you get to do that. As for autonomy, generally speaking, a bit. Like, the day-to-day Ajay affairs are managed by the Ajay. Their local communities, their local ruling monarchs, whatever title they have, so forth and so forth. That's mostly Ajay handled. When we're talking about the higher level stuff, general government policy, religious intolerance or tolerance or doctrine, rule of law, that comes from Galaxant down. And there is some friction where Galaxant may say, okay, this is the rule for this occasion. And the Ajay cultural answer is, no, we do it this way. And if it's low profile enough, you'll probably see the local custom go. But if it's high profile, Galaxant's going to get involved and nobody's going to be happy about it.
That would make some sense. Across their history, have Ajay had notable alliances or conflicts with the realm outside of Humaheim? What about trade and culture exchange and intersection?
The realms have been largely kept separate to the benefit of Galaxant. Each one has been regulated or destabilized or restabilized in such a way that they are very internal in their view. We have our own problems we got to take care of. We're not going to mess with these other realms because they're busy looking inward saying we've got to get our own problems to solve. and meet whatever quota Galaxant has. So there hasn't really been a lot of inter-realm conflict, at least in the present age. And because of that, there is a degree of harmony. There is open trade facilitated by Galaxant, and some of that comes from necessity. You know, the overlords say, we're going to trade these goods, and it's going to be at this rate, and this really sucks, but we can commiserate about it. So, hey, we're friends now. And in that regard, there is peace and trade, but there's also this degree of distrust, for lack of a better word. There's a sense of, you know, each realm works within the context of, you know, we are the normal ones. It's those weirdos over there that make trouble. And when a lot of the population doesn't ever leave their realm and sticks to what they know and the status quo, that kind of perpetuates. It's the traders, it's your mana hunters, it's your bounty hunters, it's whoever who constantly moves between the realms that kind of gets that broader worldview going, nah, we're all the same level of schmuck. We're just trying to get by. And Galaxant sucks. And that's, everyone agrees with that pretty much.
Well, I mean, I don't agree with that. I think it's pretty cool. I think Drogune is pretty cool.
Well, thank you very much. If you want to see what we're talking about, head over to Drogune.com. That's Drogune.com, where you can get Drogune Fortune's Lap Volume 1, physical or digital, the very beginning of this crazy science fantasy epic. Thank you to Lorenzo for sponsoring this BumbleKast Mini. Check out his stuff at lorenzohall.com/portfolio. And if you want a BumbleKast Mini of your own, head over to patreon.com/BumbleKast, ko-fi.com/BumbleKast, or be a YouTube member. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. Read Drogune. And we will see you next time on the BumbleKast.
Go buy Drogune. Go buy Drogune. Go buy Drogune. Go buy Drogune. Go buy Drogune.